Hey everyone, Entest here, and I wanted to make a video on Vindicta. She's got an 87% pick rate, but only a 44% win rate. Unfortunately, she is definitely underperforming, but I think a lot of that is because players don't really know how to play her. She has some insane potential to quickscope people, rack up early soul leads, and overall snowball a game. But in the late game, a lot of players fall off and their kills start to go down the drain. There's a lot of different reasons why this happens, but I think that Vindicta is overall a really solid unit, and in the early game can be oppressively strong in the laning phase. But you need to keep up the tempo, and you need to pick the right items so that you can succeed. Today, we're going to go through her abilities, and we're going to go through how to build her, and where you should be fighting with Vindicta. Let's get started. So I want to explain a few things with her abilities and why you are losing games with Vindicta, because it has to do with itemization, the range that you're playing in, understanding the value of this character's kit, and when you are going to thrive. Okay? So issue number one, you are probably going to get some early kills with your sniper rifle, and it's going to feel really good. And it's going to give you a soul advantage here because it gives you bonus souls. You get these huge hits of damage with your sniper, and you execute people, and you start to snowball. And then you lose the game. Why is that happening? It's all because of range. It's very easy to have a sniper rifle as your ultimate that's assassinating people and think, I'm going to play really far back, right? Look at this big gun. I should be able to play way back here. But damage fall off means that you do no damage when you're back here. But it's very odd having this thing as part of your kit and going, oh, I've got full damage back here. And even having her bird, which you can hit all the way back here. All right? I can throw that bird out. And as long as you're aimed really near them and slightly higher, if you aim at their feet, you're going to miss. Okay? I'll just turn my cooldowns off. If you aim at their feet, their bird is going to miss. But this bird is insanely powerful. And people don't use it enough, and people don't realize how good it is. Because with the duration that this thing has, you can use it multiple times in a fight. And if you aren't using it, you are missing thousands upon thousands of damage in a team fight, and you don't even realize it. Okay? So if I am using this thing from way back here, and I'm starting a fight here, and we've leveled it up, and I'm sending this thing out, and it's ricocheting between their teammates, these things need to be implemented into your kit if you want to be valuable to your team. But if you are staying back here, you might as well not be on the map because you're useless! This range for Vindicta. This range for Vindicta. This range for Vindicta is a mistake, and it's all because of damage fall off. And it's all because of the itemization that a lot of these different builds are using. Because a lot of them are focused on weapon damage, not on your sniper, not on your crow, and this is why you are losing games. Okay? You're going to get a few early kills, and you're going to be like, well, I'll just clean everyone up. I'm going to sit at the back and I'm going to kill them. And that is a problem. Because if we look at our basic gun, and we start looking at these ranges here where we're 20, 25 meters, we're getting like full damage around here. Okay? Right around here is where you are at your peak, your pinnacle. But the issue with Vindicta is verticality. When you start throwing verticality into the mix, you get more damage fall off. So if I'm doing damage right here of 13... and then I jump into the air, I am going to do more damage due to the spirit damage, but I'm only doing 12 with my bullet. And if we start backpedaling more, this issue is going to persist. So the further back I go, I'm doing 11, I'm doing 9, I'm doing 8. If I do the same thing here, and I jump into the air, I'm only doing 6 damage now. The issue with that is a lot of the itemization in the game is for weapon damage. And so when you start actually building some of these items, and you start extrapolating from here, where you're getting these really big boosts to your overall weapon damage, that fall off has a lot more effect, and it leads to thousands of damage in a fight that aren't going downfield, right? If I'm shooting someone here, it's 39 damage. 33. 23. Okay? I just lost like 30% of my damage by going 2 steps back. And that is a problem. And then we jump into the air, and we're even further back. And it is now shredded. So, Vindicta is not a bad champ, but people are playing her very, very, very bad. And they're building in a way that is then not allowing them to snowball. If I build Glass Cannon on Yamato, and I dive in and I'm barrel stuffing them and killing them and I can't die, it's very easy to abuse something like Glass Cannon and get value. But even though she's a long-range unit who has a little bit more damage fall-off potential, she still needs to be dueling in these situations. She needs to be this close, or else you have failed. She needs to be this close so that when you jump up in the air, you are aiming at their head and getting free headshots, or you will fail. And the second you backpedal, and you go all the way back here and say, I'm going to support you from a distance, you might as well not be on the map because her value is 0. Okay? So Vindicta has a couple things that are going to actually help her out here. Her Q ability has a disarm. So when you level this thing up, it's going to disarm them, and it's got a pretty darn good range. So if there's a team fight going on, you can hopefully tag a few of them. They're going to be slowed down. They're going to be tethered for a pretty long time for your team to hopefully kill them, but they can't really shoot you back. On top of that, you technically are on the other end of these ranged situations where there is damage fall off. Because you have things like Sharpshooter and you have a little bit more fall off range, mathematically and statistically, unless they were 20 items ahead of you, there is almost no one in the game at this range where damage fall off is starting to come into play. They should not be able to ever kill you before you kill them. Because I can do like full damage here, and they're doing a fraction of that. And so Vindicta is so much better at dueling 1v1 than a lot of people give her credit for. And when you start putting all of her kit together, and you're fighting someone right here, and you go, oh shit, there's someone right here, and you go like this, and you start laying into them, in a lot of cases, they had better run, or you will win. Now, the only thing I will say there is some people's ultimate is better in a duel. Because they can potentially pop an ultimate and be doing damage to you at the same time, where this is a situation where I am not shooting my regular gun and using my regular abilities because I'm sniping. And so you can see in my footage, in a lot of cases, I open up with my abilities, I lay into them, I'm shooting with my regular gun, and then I swap and I finish them off to get the bonus souls. But the sniper rifle needs to be used more than that. And that is why you're failing on Vindicta. If I have maximum charges on my sniper, I am playing her wrong. Because in these situations, I need to go, oh shit, free damage, and then engage, and then hopefully finish things off after that. You want to actually use this sniper rifle, because based on how you're building, and using things like Mystic Burst, you want to abuse this thing every 6 seconds or so and get that extra bonus damage thrown in, especially if you get into the later game with Improved Burst that's doing a percentage of their HP. You want to tag them with your sniper rifle and have this thing recharging over time, if you can. You want to assassinate people, but sitting in lane with full charges the entire time is a mistake, in my opinion, in the early game. In the first 10 minutes or so, you want to give them a poke here or there, because it's you know, hundreds of damage that they just can't really defend against. So, Vindicta isn't a bad champion, but I think people are playing her horrendously. Now, if we look at these builds, I would agree with a lot of the stuff that these builds are saying. There's multiple builds in the game, and they do focus on gun damage, but it says here, there's a disclaimer right here. You don't need to shoot far, as there will be no damage. Try to balance damage with survival and lifesteal items. This is absolutely 100% correct. You want to get things like lifesteal and bullet armor so that in the early game, when you have a bunch of kills because you've been able to snipe people and get a bunch of soul advantage, they can't duel you 1v1 and you keep the snowball going. If you all of a sudden are trying to do this weird glass cannon thingy, this does nothing for you, because all of these items, sharpshooter, long range, headshot, glass cannon, all these different things, these don't impact your ability to snipe someone. Because if I buy all these, I'm still doing 160 damage with this sniper rifle. Okay? So my recommendation for you is, in the early game, You want your sniper to do a lot of damage and feel oppressive. And you want to use your sniper rifle to get a soul advantage. You want to get economy on them by getting these assassinations, and you want to gank people with this thing, okay? You want to push up your lane, duel, if you can get a kill, cool, but then you want to push to another lane, and you want to snipe someone else, and you want to get that snowball rolling if you can. But after you've done that for the first 7, 10, 15 minutes of a game, you need to start thinking, how am I going to win 1v1 duels, or how can I be effective in the team fight? And that's when you start getting things like stake to shut down the opponents. That's when your crow familiar starts being really, really crazy, or you're flying above them doing all this damage with your guns in these ranges. Okay? And you're not going to be able to do that if you don't have some sort of sustain, some sort of tankiness, because there are people that have really good dueling kits that you need to be scared of. But for the most part, Vindicta, if played properly in these closer ranges, is going to be an absolute menace, an absolute nuisance, and 1v1, she is scary. Okay? You can do so many interesting things with this, where you are just laying in doing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of damage. And if your team is there in the fight, you're not as at risk as you might think. Because, again, damage fall off, and verticality is keeping you safe from a lot of punishing abilities. And as long as your team is here and you're doing damage from these ranges, you are valuable. Now, this isn't going to be a perfect test, but I just went on the most popular builds and I clicked all the items essentially, and then I'm just going to duel here. And I'm probably going to lose that duel, but I'm pretty effective at fighting 1v1 here. Now, that's with no abilities being used, and you have to understand that in Furnace, his passive on his E is always active. So essentially, I used no abilities, and Infernus has an ability on me in that situation, okay? But when we start throwing some of the other things into the kit in a 1v1 situation, it's going to be a lot easier to win these duels, even though you might, run into someone really close, and it's scary because it's like, oh god, I'm in the middle of a fight now, I'm going to have to duel. When you start throwing all the things into the kit, things are a lot easier to win these fights 1v1. So I'm just going to wait till they've got a little bit more HP here. But it's at these ranges where Vindicta is going to start having an advantage over a lot of the different heroes in the game because of these range things. So I'm going to have a little bit less damage fall off in these duels, and that's cool. But the biggest one here is if he's using his Q here, that's not going to reach me. But I can aim this thing as far as I possibly want. And so in a duel now, at these ranges, I'm going to get free DPS sessions where they better start running, and it's going to be really hard for them to catch up in a fight.
They won't be bothering us.
But again, that's only if you're playing properly. If you run into each other this close, things are going to get a little bit more scary, okay? In some cases, this is where you can get bursted down and they can kill you. But right here, I'm at such a big advantage over so many different characters in the game, it isn't even funny. As long as you're playing somewhat good, you're going to win. And when we start throwing, everything into the kit, if we're laying into each other and they start doing these things, it's almost impossible to lose fights in these ranges, okay? And this is, not going to be a perfect example, but it starts painting the picture on where she's going to thrive 1v1. So at the beginning of the game, just like normal, you need to focus on farming, denying souls, and getting economy. And I already start having quite a big soul advantage in this lane, using my Vindicta and just farming safely. But once this guy gets too close, I'm able to punish. Now, I actually missed my bird here, and I missed out on some free damage, but once I realized he's kind of captured there and he misses his ability, I go all in and start laying into him from above. In these situations, they essentially need to run because they cannot duel you. You do quite a bit of damage from up here with that extra spirit damage per bullet, and when they're locked down and can't really strafe, it's very easy to hit them. Now, this is kind of the start of the snowball, but now that I have my sniper, things really start to open up, and I even consider ganking right here. Now, this is a really good opportunity if they are low to get some more kills, but unfortunately, there's no one really available for ganking, so I go back to my lane. I also didn't have my abilities to slow them down or stop them, and so in these situations, you want to always be getting a economy. I probably lost out on 2 or 3 or even 400 souls there, leaving lane. I could have killed some minions and different things like that. So just be careful to not gank too early, especially because the cooldowns on some of your abilities, you just don't really have them to use. Now, I would poke with your little crow as much as you can because the bleed is extremely annoying, but there are a lot of situations like right now where you can get a lot of free damage on these enemies and end up sniping them under tower like this. You get such a big bonus of damage when they're low, and it's essentially a free kill when paired with your snare ability. In the early game, I think that you should always stay in lane. There's a couple times that I've tried to roam here, and I don't really have my abilities for like 10, 15 seconds in some cases, and so your gank potential isn't great unless there's already a fight going on and you're sniping. I go to push there, and I'm literally just wasting souls right now, so be careful. After returning to lane, I'm able to get a nice pickup here with the long range, and once again, this guy just doesn't really respect that I'm so far ahead, and I snipe him again. The burst potential here is crazy. I am a 1v1ing monster against pretty much anyone in the game, but especially this lane mate that I'm bullying, and now I'm so far ahead that if he comes into lane again, it's seriously a suicide. So I'm getting calls to gank another lane, and I just have one warning for you. You're pretty slow at this moment in time to push to different lanes, and if you don't get the kills here, again, it is very bad for your economy. I would also recommend trying to secure the kills with the sniper so you get those extra souls to make it even more worth it. But in these ganks, you really want to be taking objectives and giving your entire team gold. I get some kills here. I'm actually going to get another one in just a second, and I get a lot of money here. But we don't really push a tower, and we don't really get that much of an advantage other than a few souls here. If you're going to do this, if you're going to go the lane, I personally would commit to getting a tower and start rotating around the map and helping different lanes take their towers using your aggression. That's what I would personally do. Now, some of you may have had games like this yourself, and then you end up losing, and it's like, how is it possible? I'm absolutely dumpstering on everyone that I see. How could I lose this game? And again, it's a little bit of the itemization. It's the sniper doesn't scale as crazy as you might think, unless you're actually building for sniper damage. And it's a lot of cases where you're just not quite playing the character right. But I want to show you some endgame footage in a little bit here, where I am quite tanky and surviving in situations where other people probably died, and you aren't bringing value to your team when you're dead. So let's watch a couple more awesome plays, and then let's jump to some endgame dueling type stuff. So after taking this tower, I could have backed off, got some more items, and even pushed my advantage further, but I decide to duel here. And one of the mistakes I actually make is I kind of blow a sniper shot early on. If you're going to use your sniper, I would make damn sure that you're going to finish them off here, because I didn't have another sniper shot to get that economy, and that is just a waste of souls in those 1v1 situations where you know you're going to win. But we are going to always be farming, always doing camps. If you're going to rotate between the lanes, always be getting these souls to keep that advantage going. But we're going to push another lane now, and we're going to get some kills again. We've got our cooldowns, we can stun them, and our goal is to just shut them down. This is too far away, though. I'm a little too far away. My team is there. They can help me out. But my gun wasn't really doing any damage there. That was kind of a mistake on my part. This guy actually probably would have been dead if I would have just pushed forward into him and laid into him with my gun. Instead, I played too safe like a sniper. But we're about to push in a little bit closer right now, even on low health. And I want to show you, even right now, how good we are at dueling and how much damage potential we have, okay? So we're in the middle of a reload here. We're going to get attacked. And right now, we are in this fight, but we are still laying into him. A beautiful snipe, a beautiful kill. And still low HP. Obviously, this character is distracted, but my gun is doing exceptionally good damage. And then again, we finish him off with the snipe. And at this point, there's a couple of them. I've got a teammate, but I don't really have my cooldowns, and I back off. I might have been able to kill Abram here because I am pretty fed, but I honestly backpedaled so far that I'm getting quite a bit of damage fall off, and then it's kind of too late. There's no real way that I can aggress this, or I don't want to aggress this. I back off. We will fight later on. Now, it's very easy to get ahead and say, I'm just going to assassinate everyone, but she's not really an assassin, and this is just stupid. I'm pushing into like 3 people trying to get a kill, 1v1, and there's 3 of them. Like, I'm just feeding here, and this is dumb. There are a lot of characters like Yamato that if they've been farming, they can 1v1 you because they can't die for a certain duration with their ultimate. And so even if you are ahead and you're tanky enough 1v1 to fight people, it doesn't mean you need to be going into the backlines and trying to assassinate people people. You want to sustain yourself and last in the fight with things like this Spirit Shield, and you want to be able to sustain and be this nuisance the longer the team fight goes. And then when they start running, you pick them off. In the mid game, Vindicta is going to shine in team fighting skirmishes because she has a very interesting thing with her Q. It has such an insanely big AoE, but also a range where you can catch people and stun them or lock them down and catch them in a skirmish that if they're out of position, you punish the hell out of them with your team. She's not as good at assassinating people alone, but in these little mid-range team fights, she is so oppressively good. Now, I didn't get the kill there myself, but these big chunks of damage, I'm about to root this guy and he can't really escape, can't really run. These are free kills when you're grouped up with your team, and if you are fed, it is super punishing. And then you can push these different turrets together. If you're not grouping up like this and using those strengths, then you are throwing. Stop trying to snipe someone and pick them off in the distance. It's not going to work. And you also have to understand that Vindicta isn't the most mobile unit in the game. And so if you do get caught out of position like this, you're going to get punished and you are going to die. She's awesome in those duels if you're in those ranges, but if you overcommit, if you are way too deep, if you're in the front line, that's when she's going to fall apart. In my opinion, Vindicta is going to shine when she's able to get close to the skirmishes, use those abilities, and be a bit of a nuisance. But even if you play like an idiot and make mistakes like this, you're not going to instantly get killed. She's always a bit of a threat in a fight because you never know when she's going to pop up and snipe you, or pop up and cause you to bleed, or pop up and disarm you in the middle of a fight. In this situation, I don't even know where this guy is, but I'm tanky enough that he can't just melt me when I'm not even lifestealing off of him. There's multiple people pushing and attacking me, and I want you to see how long I can survive here, and they're always at a risk. Is Vindicta coming back and going to be annoying? Is she going to disarm us in the middle of this fight? Is she going to tank this shot and still get back to safety? And she hasn't died yet. That's when I've had the most success. When I go full AD carry or full sniper build, she never truly seems to shine because I'm forced to be too far away from those fights. When I can get in the mix and I can start bringing some value to the entire team fight instead of just picking someone off in the distance, that's when I have my best games. Make sure to subscribe for more if you're liking the Deadlock content, and I'll see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.